What if the one person keeping a monster human is suddenly gone? Because that's exactly what Daredevil, Born Again, just did. And the Marvel Universe will never be the same. We need to talk about Episode 4. Because if you've seen it, you already know. And if you haven't, buckle up, because what just happened to Vanessa Fisk is one of the most brutal, most shocking, most consequential moments in Marvel television history. This isn't just a plot twist. This is a detonator. And Wilson Fisk, the kingpin of crime, the mayor of New York City, the most dangerous man in the Marvel Universe, just had his pin pulled. Let's break down everything we know, everything the creators have hinted at, and why this single moment could send shockwaves all the way through Season 3, which, yes, is already in production. And trust me, by the end of this video, you're going to want to drop your theory in the comments, because things are about to get wild. So here's what went down. Episode 4 of Daredevil, Born Again, delivers what fans are already calling the most gut-wrenching scene of the entire Marvel Disney Plus era. Vanessa Fisk, Wilson Fisk's wife, his anchor, his one true emotional tether to anything resembling humanity, is brutally attacked. The scene is visceral. It's sudden. It's devastating. And the show doesn't give you time to breathe. One moment she's there, the sophisticated, quietly powerful woman standing beside the most feared man in New York. And then she's not. The screen goes cold. And Wilson Fisk is left standing in the wreckage of the only thing he ever truly loved. Fans were completely shocked. Social media exploded within minutes of the episode dropping. Threads, Reddit posts, reaction videos. The discourse hit like a freight train. Because here's the thing about Vanessa Fisk that the show has always understood. She's not just a supporting character. She's a load-bearing wall. Remove her, and the entire architecture of Wilson Fisk's psychology comes crashing down. And that is exactly, terrifyingly, the point. Now let's talk about Vincent D'Onofrio, because his reaction to this storyline tells you everything you need to know about where Kingpin is headed. In a recent interview, D'Onofrio didn't hold back. He described Vanessa's attack as a wound that doesn't heal, and more importantly, a wound that transforms. He spoke about how, throughout the series, Vanessa has functioned as the emotional governor on Fisk's engine. She's the reason he pauses, the reason he occasionally pulls back from the absolute edge. She humanizes him in a way that nothing else can. Not power, not money, not victory. Just her belief in him, her presence. And now that's gone. Or at least it might be. D'Onofrio hinted with that magnetic intensity he brings to every interview that this tragedy doesn't break Fisk. It ignites him. He described a version of Kingpin that we've never truly seen before. One with no internal conflict, no hesitation, no softness lurking beneath the surface. A Kingpin who has been stripped of his last reason to hold back. And he said, and this is the line that should terrify every single character in this universe, that grief in a man like Wilson Fisk doesn't look like tears. It looks like war. But things get even crazier. Because showrunner Dario Scardapane and executive producer Sana Amanat have both been doing press, and what they're saying is simultaneously reassuring and deeply unsettling, which, if you know anything about how Marvel storytelling works, means you should absolutely not relax. Scardapane, when asked point-blank whether Vanessa is dead, gave the kind of answer that should keep you up at night. He didn't say yes. He didn't say no. He said that Vanessa's fate is not as simple as it appears. He spoke about the storytelling choice being deliberate, that the ambiguity is intentional, that the show wants the audience to sit in the same horrifying uncertainty that Wilson Fisk himself is sitting in. Because in that moment after the attack, Fisk doesn't know. He's in that terrible space between hope and devastation. And Scardapane wants us to live there too. Sana Amanat went even further. She teased that Vanessa, as a character, has layers that the show has only begun to excavate. She reminded fans that this version of the story has always been interested in who Vanessa truly is beyond her role as Fisk's wife. Her agency, her own moral complexity, her own ruthlessness when pushed. Amanat suggested that whatever Vanessa's fate turns out to be, she will not be a passive victim in this narrative. She will be a force. And what happens next could change everything. Because here's what the show understands at a fundamental level about Wilson Fisk that makes this moment so explosively consequential. The entire mythology of Kingpin, from the comics, from the Netflix original, from this series, has always rested on a paradox. He is the most dangerous man alive, and he loves his wife with a totality that borders on religious devotion. Those two things exist in permanent tension, and that tension is what makes him a character rather than just a villain. When you remove Vanessa, even temporarily, even uncertainly, you don't weaken Kingpin. You uncage him. Think about every moment in Born Again so far where Fisk has operated with a kind of cold, calculated restraint. Think about the political maneuvering, the careful construction of his mayoral regime, the way he's built power through systems rather than just brute force. That restraint has Vanessa's fingerprints all over it. She's the reason he plays the long game. She is the civilizing influence on a man who, at his core, is pure consuming fire. Now imagine that fire with nothing left to contain it. D'Onofrio has talked about this Kingpin becoming darker and more ruthless than anything we've seen from the character. And that includes the Netflix era, which gave us some of the most genuinely frightening villain work in superhero history. He described scenes coming up that pushed him to places emotionally that he hadn't gone before. He talked about rage that isn't loud or explosive but cold, methodical, the kind of rage that doesn't scream. It plans, and then it destroys. For Daredevil, for Matt Murdock, this changes the entire chessboard. Matt has always navigated his war against Fisk with the knowledge that Wilson has a pressure point, that there is a human being inside the monster. That appeals to that humanity, however slim the odds, are at least theoretically possible. Vanessa was always the crack in the armor, the place where in some last-ditch scenario, you could remind Wilson Fisk what he stood to lose. That leverage is now gone, or at least deeply, dangerously uncertain. What does Daredevil do against a Kingpin who has nothing left to lose? What does Matt Murdock, a man defined by his faith, his restraint, his refusal to cross the line, do when he's facing an opponent who has just crossed every line inside himself? This isn't just a physical escalation. It's a moral one. And the show is clearly positioning the rest of Season 2 as a reckoning on both sides. Because here's the other dimension of this that nobody's talking about enough. A grief-consumed Fisk is not just more dangerous to his enemies. He's more dangerous to his allies, to his regime, to the city he now controls. A Kingpin operating from pure loss and rage is a Kingpin who makes catastrophic decisions, who burns things down that he spent years building, who turns on the people around him the moment they fail to deliver the vengeance he needs. This is how empires collapse, from the inside. And Daredevil Born Again seems to know exactly what it's doing. Now, because this story just keeps getting bigger, let's talk about Season 3. Yes, it's already in production. While Season 2 is still airing and fans are processing the Vanessa devastation, the machine is already moving. And what's coming down the pipeline is, frankly, staggering. The whispers, which have now graduated from whispers to fairly substantial industry reporting, suggest that Season 3 of Daredevil, Born Again, will see the return of Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist. The Defenders, assembled again. And if that sounds like exactly the kind of street-level Marvel event that fans have been begging for since the Netflix era ended, that's because it absolutely is. Think about what that means in the context of where Season 2 is heading. If Fisk, unshackled from his last emotional restraint, begins burning New York City down, if his regime becomes so catastrophically dangerous that no single hero can handle it, then you have a reason. You have the inciting incident that doesn't just bring back one defender. It calls in all of them. Matt Murdock, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Danny Rand, together again, facing a Kingpin who has nothing left to lose and a city's worth of power at his disposal. The scale of that confrontation is almost too big to fully process right now. But Season 2 is clearly laying the groundwork. Every choice being made, Vanessa's attack, Fisk's unraveling, the political and criminal infrastructure of his regime, is a brick in the foundation of something enormous. And what happens next could change everything, not just for Daredevil, but for the entire street-level corner of the Marvel Universe. So here's where we land. Episode 4 of Daredevil, Born Again, just did something genuinely audacious. It took the most dangerous man in Marvel television and removed the only thing keeping him tethered to his humanity. It left his fate, and Vanessa's, deliberately, agonizingly uncertain. It gave Vincent D'Onofrio the fuel to deliver what could be the defining performance of his already legendary run with this character. And it set the stage for a Season 2 endgame and a Season 3 that could redefine what Marvel storytelling on television looks like. Dario Scardapane and Sana Amanat are playing an incredibly long, incredibly precise game here. The Vanessa attack isn't just a dramatic moment. It's a thesis statement about who Wilson Fisk is, what he becomes when the last light goes out, and what it will cost everyone around him, including, ultimately, himself. Vanessa Fisk may be gone, or she may not be, and somehow, both possibilities are terrifying. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think Vanessa is truly dead? Or is the show setting up a return that will hit even harder than the attack itself? And if Kingpin is truly unshackled now, what does that mean for Daredevil? Can Matt Murdock stop a man with absolutely nothing left to lose? Drop your theories in the comments right now, because this is the conversation the whole fandom is having, and I want to know exactly where you stand.